Alright, hello and welcome everyone here to the Dota Trash King of the Hill $100 best of 3 winner take all. We've got Team eHug trying to get revenge going up against the Sneaky Nyx Assassins. Looks like someone snuck in the Scrim Over Gym tag, but either way, I'm Helium and joined by not only Gorgon but also Nahaz going to be on the stats this game. If Gorgon is around, maybe it's just me for now. Maybe I should have double checked if he was around, but
hi.
There you are.
Sorry about that.
Is your mic muted again?
It was muted, but I also wasn't
recently.
at the computer. I was taking a quick whiz here before the game started to make sure I had my full attention on, what's going on. What's with SOG? Why is Sneaky Nyx Assassins not using their tag? That's weird.
I don't know. They were using Scrim Over Gym, I think, in the Sunday Evening Cup series. It wasn't this full lineup though. It was just bits and pieces. You know how those evening tournaments go.
Yeah, that's the way it is, especially Sunday Evening Cup Series when Snicks. I mean, I do know that Sneaky Nyx Assassins on Sunday and Thursday for Sex and Tex have a tendency to have trouble getting their full roster available.
Yeah, they're a busy team, man.
Speaking of which, what was with Demon popping into the pregame lobby? I thought he was going to sub for somebody. Got kind of excited after that Liquid versus EG game earlier today. Looking forward to maybe seeing some Demon play, but he just popped in to say hi, I guess, and then left.
Probably saw the word gym and got excited.
Anyway, yeah, so Dota Trash. This is a pretty solid game that we have here. This is the first time for the King of the Hill that we've actually had a repeat attempt. As Team eHug, they tried to take down Sneaky Nyx Assassins about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and they were unable to.
It was a while ago, as you just mentioned. I think it was 2-0 for Sneaky Nyx Assassins as well.
Yeah, I believe that.
I mean, they were close games, but still, it was 2-0 and not a full extended 3-game series. But we got some bans coming out here. It's not 100% traditional from what we've been seeing. I know you and I have been casting a lot together recently. It's been the Lycan, the Naga, the Invoker, and the Ember. So substitute in a Bat Rider for this first ban here, and you've pretty much got the same thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The Bat Rider is one of the most played heroes coming out of Sneaky Nyx Assassins. The only hero that they play more than the Bat Rider is the Clockwork. So that makes a lot of sense, especially considering how popular Bat Rider has been and how effective he was for a lot of the big ticket games that came out today and yesterday. Once again, joined Dota League. He was played in that. He's been played in the what is it? The ESL. D2 Champions League. I think there was a game earlier where he got played. I'm not 100% sure on that. But anyway, Bat Rider he's a hero that allows you to control the pacing of the game pretty heavily. And you don't really want to give that to a team like Sneaky Nyx Assassins that dominate when they have complete control.
Yeah, and they're so used to it, like you said. X-Mike been playing a lot of the Bat Rider, a lot of the Clockwork. He's kind of letting me down because, he left Team Liquid and then he was just experimenting. He was running Nyx offlane, he was running Void offlane, he was putting basically any hero into the offlane, but I guess when you find yourself up against Team eHug and, the other Tier 2, Tier 1 teams, you gotta put on your serious face a little bit. Although, that offlane Void was used in a LAN finals, so, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not something that I think I've ever seen them run in a serious game. It's something that I see them run when they're playing up against community teams a lot, which is, I mean, community teams they have taken out Sneaky Nyx Assassins before, but this is a team that's on the border of Tier 2, Tier 1. Like, they're right in that netherworld. Obviously, they've been Kings of the Hill here for 4 or 5 weeks, like I said.
I think entire duration of the tournament thus far.
They have yet to lose the crown. Up against teams like eHug, Revenge. Revenge being the only team that took a game other than Team Liquid. Revenge was the only team that took a game off EG during the Join Dota League. Revenge is also the only team to take games off of Liquid. Like, they're a serious team, and they are having trouble with Sneaky Nyx Assassins. So, that being said, Sneaky Nyx Assassins still have a little ways to go before they could really be considered North American Tier 1, but they are in that weird transition phase where they perform very well, they're still very new, but they execute extremely strongly.
Yeah, well, they're working hard at it. I don't know if you're in that Skype group for the scrims, the North American Scrim group, but I pretty much see IX Mike all day, nonstop, looking for scrim. So they're busy. They're working hard, trying to get that synergy together. Because obviously they've got Fluff, they've got Mike, they've been at the International, SNA, Ush, Whitebeard. They're getting there, and Team eHug also trying to do the same thing. I'm not sure if their living situation is together in that team house anymore, but also playing quite a bit. And we have some picks now, so we can talk about those. Centaur, War Runner, Invoker. It looks like we got Team DK over here on the Radiant.
10 seconds.
Yeah,
remaining.
I mean, Centaur Warrunner coming out here, the Invoker as well. That's going to be Justin on the Invoker almost certainly. He does love to play that hero, and he does have a tendency to like to play Exhort, which has really come back in vogue as of late.
Yeah, well, it makes sense with the Warrunner because you've got these stuns, you've got these setups for that Sunstrike. And with Centaur, double-edged Sunstrike, you kill anyone on the map pretty much at any time. It's deadly. And we look over Scrim over Jim, Ancient Apparition Sand King, one of the best level 1 stuns in the game coming out of the Burrow Strike. Not the best range at first, but you can easily lock people into cold feet if you time that even moderately close.
Yeah, and what I really do like about the Exhort Invoker is that he provides tower push, like sustainable sieging damage, both in the fact that the Invoker pumps out more damage early and in the fact that you have the Forged Spirits. Not drafting sustainable tower damage for the bulk of 6.80 has been the biggest, most common mistake that teams at every tier of play make in tournaments. Like, they draft great teams for teamfight or great teams for defense or great teams for farm, but they just take way too much time and effort to actually get past tier 1 towers, which ends up losing them the game. We see it over and over and over again, and teams are starting to focus a little bit more often on at least having one hero who provides that sustainable damage, be it an Invoker Exhort, be it a Luna, be it a Lycanthrope, somebody who's going to be able to help knock down those towers through the mid-game, early game if possible. And especially considering we were coming out of a global push strat era for the maybe first month of 6.80 and the end of 6.79. It really caught me off guard that the Exhort Invoker completely fell off the way he did.
Well, EMP got pretty good. So
it is really
that kind of
good.
explains it. And you still saw the Quas Exhort a little bit, still going into like Necrobook Quas Exhort, or I guess Necrobook Quas Wex, or even a mech, and just trying to get the push up online through some different item choices on heroes that you didn't normally see picking up those. But here we go. We've got an Enchantress, a Shadow Demon here for eHug, and they banned out the Mirana themselves, so they're not looking to set up with the arrow. They're just looking for another setup. Let Centaur run in with his Hoof Stomp, get the Double Edge, get the Sunstrike, and then if, maybe you've overextended to do that, you've got the Stampede to get you out of dodge, run back into the welcoming nature's attendance, get your health back up, and an interesting pick here, Silencer, and he has not got that agility buff yet.
Yeah, so here's the deal with Silencer. Silencer also got picked up. He's not a very common hero that you see. Like, obviously, not one, probably in the bottom 25 percentile of heroes that get picked in competitive play, I would imagine.
We can ask our stats man once we get in game.
We've got Nahaz coming in here, so I don't actually have to fake do stats anymore. We've got somebody who really knows what he's doing. So I'm sure that he'll be able to pull up some stats on Silencer. But Silencer did just get played in the JDL finals, the North American finals between Liquid and EG, to pretty great effect. Having that huge silence is very, very powerful, especially against initiation-style teams. Now, granted, Team eHug is not an initiation-style team. They really seem to be doing more on the push and counter-initiation with the Centaur, the Shadow Demon for the counter-initiation, Invoker Enchantress for the push. But even so, it's interesting to me that that Silencer pick is becoming already more common, even though 6.80 has, or 6.81, excuse me, has not quite actually hit yet.
Yeah. Alright, well, Faceless Void, off lane. Calling it.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, could work out. I don't know that eHug is really a squad that
10 seconds
you
remaining.
want to do your pub
It's the best of
stuff
three,
stats
right?
against. Yeah, exactly. It's the best of 3. And maybe Nyx Assassins feel like, well, we've been here for 5 weeks. Give them an advantage. I mean, that Faceless Void offlane, they play it pretty well.
Yeah, maybe they're tired of sitting on the throne.
I don't expect that is going to be a solo offlane Void. I could see potentially an aggressive try, but even then, I think we're probably going to be looking at Faceless Void solo, or Faceless Void safe lane with an offlane to come and maybe a Silencer mid.
Yeah, we'll see. The options are open to them, given that they have run the Void in the offlane in the past. Silencer, I mean, he's not going to be a support in this scenario, because you've already got the Sand King. Maybe Sand King goes mid, we do see that, but I'm expecting those supports to be together. They're okay in an aggro lane. They're definitely capable of roaming from a defensive tri-lane. Sand King can also stack up the jungle, clear it with the Sandstorm, get some items that way. So it'll be interesting to see what their lanes finally are. Obviously, the last pick will reveal that. Team eHug, expect them to be looking for another core, maybe a mid, so they will take out the Storm Spirit.
All right, yeah. That Storm Spirit is a decent pickup. And I don't know, so like you said, Sneaky Nyx Assassins don't really have a traditional way to lane this. The Faceless Void in an aggressive try is not really the strongest hero. He doesn't have that much damage output. He does not have an activatable stun. He does have the ability to get away or throw down that slow with the time walk, but all things considered, you really would be relying very heavily on Ancient Apparition and Sand King if you did go that way. But if we are going to have that as a strong silencer, what we could see is the Ancient Apparition Sand King silencer aggressive tri-lane and Faceless Void doing a one-on-one against the Centaur in the safe lane. That is also... That seems much more likely to me than a suicide lane Faceless Void.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that aggressive tri-lane as well. It seems pretty good. I mean, Silencer is going to be a little flimsy. If he gets caught out, he's dead. Same thing with Ancient Apparition. Sand King can maybe get away. We'll see. It's going to be hard to get away from the Viper if they run into him with all the slows. That magic, not immunity, but of course, increased resistance from that corrosive skin. Going to have at least 1 point in that. Yeah. Fairly early? We'll see. But a Troll Warlord. I literally forgot about this hero. The other day I was like, looking through, and I was like, I think it was in Captain's Draft. I was like, Troll Warlord. That's actually a hero. Yeah,
the Troll got really, really popular for a week and a half or 2 weeks, maybe January, something like that. And then he got nerfed and just disappeared. But he's still very, very strong. Even after the nerf, I've seen him as a Troll mid go in and take, seriously, take a 2-man gank onto him and turn it into a double kill solo. Like, his damage output with those axes, the fact that he's got 2 stuns that he can rotate through, he's got 2 slows, he can rotate through with nuke. The fact that he also has a damage increase starting at level 1 or 2, depending on how you're going to end up leveling him up. Like, he's not a hero that you really want to play the margins near, because he will definitely flip the script on you.
The blind is strong. People often underestimate that. Like you said, turn those ganks around in the mid lane. But we'll see. I mean, the hero sort of makes sense. When he was popular, he was either that solo lane, because he did do well in those 1v1s because of his high damage off whirling axes, which is what got nerfed. But with farming mid laners who are pretty easy to gank, like Shadow Fiend, I guess Morphling isn't that easy to gank, but he seems like he fits in okay, the pushing meta as well, with his ultimate on such a low cooldown. I mean, still only 30 seconds. Yeah. I don't know. I guess he just fell out of favor, and then people feel comfortable, so they don't want to pick him back up.
Well, he is going to be picked up here, and that is going to be your farming carry, it looks like, on the Troll. So, what is that? Ush is going to be taking the Void mid? Is that really what I'm looking at here?
I don't know. I mean, hard to tell. When you're a Void, this is pretty much what you're going to buy when you go anywhere. Stout Shield, Healing Salve, and some Tangos. If he was going mid, expect maybe some pooled regen there.
Yeah, that's not... Well, hold on. Let's see. He doesn't have any pooled regen. No, the Troll's going mid. Excuse me. I was looking at the screen, and the way that the angle was lining up for me, it looked like SNA was on the Void and Ush was on the Troll. But I see now. SNA is on the Troll. Ush is on the Void. So we are going to have that Troll mid. We are going to have that Void in a farming position. Whitebeard is on the Silencer, so that's going to be your support. Silencer. And it does look like the Sand King...
farming Sand King.
And, well, yeah, the Sand King is probably going to be your offlaner, although they have experimented recently with doing a dual offlane and giving IX Mike some farm. So we'll have to see how they end up wanting to lane that out, but it looks like we're going to have an offlane Sand King, possibly in the tri-lane situation with Ush doing some sort of a farming Faceless Void.
Yeah. I mean, he could just be Void by himself in the bottom lane. If you run into a tri-lane as Void, it's okay. You're still fairly hard to kill once you get obviously level up your evasion and your, time walk? Yeah. And you can probably get away. But let's introduce the team. So the reigning champions tagged up as Scream over Jim, but actually they're the Sneaky Nick's assassins. We've got Fluff and stuff going to be playing that Ancient Apparition, supporting behind him Whitebeard here. On the Silencer, SNA should be taking the Troll Warlord into the mid lane, but they're gathering intel for now. IX Mike leading that charge on the Sand King. So yeah, that's going to be their offlaner. Maybe they keep it an aggressive try, we will see. And then Ush, last but not least, on the Faceless Void.
Normally they put a ward right here, so Fluff is coming in. He's actually going to go ahead and throw down a sentry here to block, and then he'll have one observer for vision. They are expecting this Enchantress to come back into this jungle, it looks like. But yeah, this is a nice play by eHug. They know that the most likely situation is that they're going to have their their dire side jungle warded up. So they're going to go and throw I'm a Sheep Sucks into the aggressive jungle and do an aggressive 1-1-1-2. And yeah. Naha's thrown up a little bit of stats there that Silencer was played a couple nights ago, it looked like, by Sneaky Nyx Assassins in upset against Power Rangers. Is that did I read that correctly?
I think it was a few weeks ago, but
yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you want, we can introduce eHug as this lane's looking pretty scary down here.
All right, they are moving aggressively, and we do have Hamdago, that's Pandago, I assume, on the Shadow Demon. Cakes is going to be on the Centaur War. I'm a Sheep Sucks, the captain, on the Enchantress. For the mid lane, it's, of course, Justin on the Zord Invoker. And for that off lane, we do have Viper, and that's going to be played by Jigglebilly.
Jigglebilly, it looks like they found someone in the bottom lane. The disruption is there onto Whitebeard, but the stomp from Cakes is going to be slightly off the mark. Whitebeard gets to the trees, and he gets back into his lane. So, yeah, it looks like this is just going to be a duo lane for now because Fluff is hanging around middle. Looks like they will just put pressure on Justin. He goes Exhort, though, and he started with a Null Talisman, so he's not going to be too phased by any of this. Yeah,
Fluff loves to do this, especially if there's a Bat Rider or a Sand King in the game. He loves to do this pseudo-dual mid and then come back, stack this camp right here, pull it out twice, and then at the 2 to 3 minute mark, he'll end up rotating down to the bottom lane, try to get a quick kill. This is particularly going to be very useful because he's going to be able to move up on this Viper, who does not expect anything. And look at Viper's health. It's already down to 300. Ice Mike is trying to get in for the stun.
Yeah, and he gets it, that extra range level 1 Burrow Strike. Billy's Viper.
Yeah. That works out very, very well for Sneaky Nyx Assassin. I almost said Scrim over Jim just by looking at the tag. Yeah, they are already applying their aggressive early game very well, which is going to help them open up a little bit of space for Ash.
Yeah, I mean, with the Sand King farming and getting that first blood, he's obviously on his way to a very quick Blink Dagger. We'll see if he just wants to go Brown Boots Blink Dagger, or if the lane's going well, maybe he can sit there and farm a little bit longer, pick up a Mana Boots into a Blink. But basically what I'm noticing here is it's going to be very, very hard for anyone to push high ground against a Void, a Sand King, and an Ancient Apparition, especially if they're all farming reasonably well.
Yeah, so at the moment, it does look like
bottom lane
Lord is... Ooh.
Cakes will not land the stun. I think he got there just a tad early, and that allows Ush to time walk away. So he gets pretty lucky, only taking damage from the Soul Catcher Sunstrike.
And we are going to see another rotation up here as Fluff and stuff to the top is contesting this pull. Or maybe he pulled this himself. He actually pulled Jigglebilly's lane for him, it looks like.
Yeah, you can do that to just, force him to take creep damage at the tower, maybe miss some last hits. Although Viper shouldn't really be missing last hits under the tower. Looking at his level of Nether Toxin, even with 1, it's not too hard.
Yeah, and especially since he's got the corrosive skin, so even if he is taking any sort of damage, he is damaging the creeps at the same time, helping to make sure that he's not pushing the tower for a terrible long period of time. But what that did allow is that now Fluff got a bunch of neutral creeps. He got an easy camp, and he's also been able to pull it all the way back to set the lane equilibrium. There's going to be a double wave because it was not a stacked pull, which means now he and IX Mike are actually going to end up being at the tower for longer thanks to that double wave.
Yeah, and that's something they could maybe even dive the Viper, because you look at a hero like Enchantress, and, well, she's not really one that, if she does TP in, nothing really happens, right? Because she can't TP in with her creep. As, yeah, she was putting pressure with the Tornado here onto SNA. She's also rotating over and farming out these, I guess the Radiant safe camps, as I've started to call them.
SNA saw her when he rotated around, and she's getting a very dangerous situation. She thought SNA was very low, but he salved up. Now he's going to go and throw out those whirling axes and come in. She's got nowhere to go here.
And there's a double damage, so yeah, she's going to go down. She's trying to just give herself up to the towers, but she will be chased. SNA gets the kill. That allows Invoker to free farm a little bit, but I'd have to say just giving a kill straight up and then experience from it is probably not worth the small space that Invoker received.
Yeah, Invoker received half a wave of open space, which, honestly, you'll give half a wave of open space to take out a jungling Enchantress any day of the week.
Wow.
All right.
I've been asking I'm a Sheep Sucks for Enchantress lessons for a while now. He has yet to offer them to me.
I mean, if you're going to go... Oh, in the top lane.
Jigglebilly in some more trouble. The Burrow Strike was already used, so that should be Jigglebilly getting away free. It looks like the Vortex and the Burrow Strike still weren't quite enough to get that Cold Feet to latch, so...
All right. Yeah, nice escape by Viper. They're just the pathing really made that happen for him. Instead of stutter stepping or instead of trying to get around the trees for some of that
bottom lane, they finally sync up that time. Cakes on point with the stun, and that is pretty much what I expected to happen non-stop. I'm surprised White, or actually who was on that? SNA lasted that long.
Yeah.
Ush, rather.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is Ush, and that is why the offlane void really does not work. I mean, this isn't an offlane void, but it effectively is about it's about the same, because Whitebeard isn't really able to assert himself very much. He's kind of a passive damage dealing support in lane. They are basically doing a 2-on-3 down here, or 2-on-2 for a good chunk of it. And that's the situation that we would have seen this void in if he had gone all straight to the offlane anyway, as they would have rotated in. He is just not that survivable, considering he's got a great escape. His early game armor is really good, but other than that, he really doesn't have too much going for him.
I mean, I don't think it's going to matter. As long as he gets his levels up and he stays leveled up with the Chronosphere, he's not going to need as much farm because, you know, not very recently, but he did get the buff where his bashes hit for more damage in the Chronosphere, double the amount. So he gets his damage from that. He's getting his attack speed from the Troll, and he's got the ultimates here from these two heroes that are trying to kill Jiggly once more. There's actually going to be a TP up here by the Shadow Demon. He's going to be putting under the Ancient Apparition. The Sunstrike, actually, Hamdago going to get the kill as the Shadow Demon, but the Sunstrike doing quite a bit of damage. Jiggly finally locks in place, and for some reason Ush is up here. I guess he respawned and just TP'd to the top lane. They don't get anything done. Fluff goes down, and that's going to even up the score here at 2-2.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, double Centaurs have rotated out at Whitebeard. They're trying to get around. One of them will expire. The other one is very low, as Whitebeard did harass it down with Glaives. And Silencer is actually managing to keep himself alive down here as a 1-on-2.
Oh, middle. Justin, a lot of trouble. Does not have a pointed wax. He won't be getting away. He uses his most defensive spell, the Ice Wall, but isn't going to help him out there as SNA pops that Battle Trance and brings him down.
Yeah, bear in mind that SNA already has his face boots, so even with that Ice Wall down, it probably wouldn't have been enough, considering Invoker is still sitting on brown boots. And that move differential, plus there's a haste, I guess, on Troll Warlord, but even without it, he probably would have been able to get through that Ice Wall without too much of an issue.
Might as well throw it down for the practice.
Just to make sure you have good habits. In the top lane, we are going to have Ice Mike.
This is going to be the epicenter. Oh, but look at that. This global stampede here from a Centaur that actually just picked up his Blink Dagger at 7 minutes. Let's see if he's going to TP up top. He won't. And they're going to get Ush in the top lane. I think down in the bot, they will pick off, looks like, did Fluff go down to the Centaur as well? So they use that Stampede twice, and I'm apologizing for the dogs here. I figured this was going to happen.
So what happened here in the top lane is that we did actually have the Soul Catcher go out onto Faceless Void as he tried to initiate, and he's still about 500 experience away from the Chronosphere. If they had waited for that Chronosphere to come up, they would have gotten a double kill there, but they were a little impatient on it. The combination of the Viper Strike along with the Soul Catcher just proved to be way too much damage. And no problem. Especially considering the Void used his escape, the Time Walk, to initiate into that, which is always with early game such a pain with the Void. You can either initiate or you can escape, but you don't have both options, which is another reason why the Faceless Void has a little bit of trouble doing that offlane position, or a solo position of any sort.
Yeah, I mean, definitely don't want to be using it aggressively if you think there's going to be any follow-up, and with the Centaur, with the Blink Dagger, with the Stampede as well, to give to any other allies, it's going to be difficult. You're not getting out if you are going to be jumping in with that. Especially when Epicenter was already used, as well as there's no Ice Blast up.
Did you catch that down in the river?
I did not.
Enchantress denied the invisibility rune from the camp on the high ground as the Void was walking for it. Yeah, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
That's what you can do when you've got that 550 range.
Yeah, he managed to snag it, and very, very sad face coming out here on Ush, who is now just trying to catch back up in farm. He's only got 14 last hits at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and this is kind of where the laning phase starts to go down. eHug's, I think, going to dominate for a while from this point, but, you know, you've always got the potential for the Wombo combo coming out of the Sneaky Nyx Assassins, which I'm pretty sure is, you know, what they're banking on. They actually got quite a few kills. They're going to pick up one in the mid lane, but those illusions, Ancient Apparition himself, he's going to go down.
All right, so that's a 1-for-1 trade globally. They did end up losing one top, but they got one in the mid. SNA is free farming though, and he's on top of the last hits by a lot. He's also going to have the ability to do a fair amount of damage to this tower, so this is not going to be a straight trade, but they are at least getting something out of it. The Faceless Void is getting an opportunity to farm. He's very gold dependent, and you're also getting some farm up on SNA, and almost a tower trade.
Yeah, he brings it to a little below half HP before Hamdago decides to TP in and stop that, and I think SNA is going to be looking for that 10-minute rune.
Yeah, he rotated down toward the bottom. He actually is just going to go back to farming, throwing out those whirling axes here in the jungle. But Ush is continuing to get some free farm here. He's gotten 10 last hits in the last maybe 80 seconds or so. Doing very good job of catching himself back up.
Yeah, indeed. Jiggly, though, on the Viper here, he took that one death early. He gave up the first blood. But he's picked up his mechanism here, just 10 minutes, and that might mean some more 4 or 5 man as they try to push in towers, but maybe not. It can only be 4 because Shadow Demon has just got picked off. And that's the Ice Blast used, so that's going to be online now, hitting level 6. IX Mike up to level 8, and while they see that Ice Blast used, now they look to continue to push here. The mechanism was not used, and well, in 10 seconds, Shadow Demon will just be back here in the middle lane.
Shadow Demon was playing way too far forward here. None of his team was on high ground. He ended up getting whirling axes, and instead of retreating to his team, he came along the edge of the cliff here, where he had no help, and ended up going down basically for free.
I think it was maybe trying to get down a pushing ward, because he's got 2 wards in his inventory, so I don't know.
Look,
there's really no other reason to be up that way.
Look at where Cakes is sitting, though. He's got his Blink Dagger. He's ready to go in. This tower's almost down, which means the next time that this wave gets pushed up, he's going to be able to blink in and snap onto SNA. Oh, but he'll be caught out by Whitebeard. He's been seen. The ruse is up. Time to hit
now
the
he can't blink, so actually that Curse of the Silence is going to do a lot of work to disable Blink Daggers. Justin takes an Ice Blast to the face in the middle lane. His Sunstrike lands, but it doesn't do enough. Now Ush, 2-man Chrono. Do they have the follow-up? The Epicenter on the outside of this, but it's canceled by Cakes. Nice play putting that Blink Dagger to use. So Mike will drop here. Cakes is maybe going to get an Enchantress piece of the kill. Disruption defensively onto himself from Pandago, and he will live. Meanwhile, Viper kills the Faceless Void, so it's a 1-for-3 trade, and they should lead that into a tower. Make it 4. Blinking 4, the Blink Dagger from Cakes, and it's a double kill for Jigglebilly.
That was a huge Chronosphere by the Faceless Void, but there's no damage to follow it up. He's got nothing. Yeah, he's hitting for 83 damage. It's basically a pittance, especially up against that Enchantress that he started wailing on. He ended up switching over to the Shadow Demon, but he doesn't even have enough to take down a Shadow Demon in the Chronosphere because he's so behind in farm.
Well, they were about to have that damage that they needed coming out from this Epicenter, but it got canceled in the last second. Cakes blinked forward with the Hoof Stomp to shut that down, and then basically the teamfight was lost at that point because Ice Blast was already used.
Yeah, they really needed to execute on that just a little bit more. The levels are going to be kept up here for the Justin by getting that late Midas. It's coming out at about 12:20, I think, is when that came out, which is, once again, pretty late, but it is pretty common on Exhort-style Invokers to try and make sure that you keep your levels up. Try to get as much damage out as you possibly can throughout the mid-game. So
yeah, I think anytime, as long as you're getting it before 15 minutes, should be okay.
Yeah, Invoker is a hero, a rare case, I think maybe the only case where you actually see the Midas come out and it does translate directly into damage. It's kind of a damage item on him just because it keeps his levels going so fast that he gets that extra damage per instance off the Exhort. No other hero really has that advantage of the Midas.
Yeah, and about the only other hero who decides to get it late is probably Nature's Prophet, just because when you've got a Prophet, you don't mind the game going very late.
Right. And also because he's going to be spending so much time moving around the map anyway. You know, he's going to be able to get up some items, and getting that Midas does not really matter because he's not going to be engaging in the early game, usually, anyway.
Yeah, tower in the bottom lane will go down uncontested. Justin going to get the last hit there, so that's another 1,000 gold. He can finish up his phase boots or his treads, whatever he really wants to go for. Still sitting on the brown boots. Maybe he just keeps saving up and tries to go for a Necro Book as they look to push in these towers earlier rather than later, because going against the Void and all the ultimates we've been talking about, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to push on this for the Tier 2. They've got a fresh Centaur ready to rumble, and I don't know that there's a whole lot that Sneaking Assassins can really do here. They're just starting to fall behind, although the Void is finally catching up a little bit. He had been behind 4 heroes in terms of last hits denies. Now he's behind 4 of his opponents in net worth and 2 of his allies, though. As a farming Void, that's really not what you want to, where you want to be. He's so item dependent.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've touched on it a couple times, but he's got some heroes on his team. He's got the Ancient Apparition for the Chilling Touch. He's got the attack speed here from SNA. So he's not as item dependent this game, but yeah, still very much in general, the hero does need the farm.
Yeah, the Battle Trance will act as his additional attack speed, and the Chilling Touch will act as his additional damage, but for the most part, nice. Oh, I thought that was going to be deny command of SNA, but it was just off the mark. But for the most part, he still needs to get something up, and What do you think? Is he going to go for a farming item, try to catch himself back up, something along the lines of a Battle Fury, or is he going to go straight into damage and try to hero mode this out?
I could see a Maelstrom being the next item here from him, just to get, you know, some more supplemental damage off of those Maelstrom procs.
Yeah, that would definitely work, and that is also a very nice item to have when you are going to be using the Chronosphere in combination with the Battle Trance. Like, having that Maelstrom in a Battle Trance is just absolutely devastating.
Yeah, it's going to be... actually, what did they do? I think they changed the Lightning Shield in 6.81, right? Made it a little bit better, or so that more focused.
Yeah, it focuses based on the hero who has that Lightning Shield now, so it focuses around him in terms of the way that it procs. It's a change. I mean, it makes a difference, but it's not the biggest difference in the world. Like,
and the if you've got 2 on your team, the proc chances of the lightning bolts will sync up a little bit better.
Yeah,
which is
nice.
Going to be nice, but I don't know if you should. That's an item you should necessarily be doubling up on, anyways. But,
yeah, I can imagine that if you do have teams that have like a troll void combination, for example, if you've got that troll melee mode in the void. You're trying to do a lot of damage over an area. You're trying to make sure that you're splashing damage as much as you can for the push. This is going to be a big ice blast onto the Roshan. Will there be a follow-up here? Roshan's going down very slow, so they could still follow this up if they want to.
I don't know. It looks like they are going to go for it. I mean, they're here. They're smoked up. They're ready to go. Mike just got his Blink Dagger, so he can start channeling that Epicenter right now. But Cakes is on the lookout for him once again. There's the Global Silence. Here comes the Epicenter. They will try to take out Cakes first. They get him. Nice defensive disruption from Pandago. Now going to blink in with the Chronosphere, and he's going to try to steal the Aegis. Does he just deny it? No, it goes over to Viper. Jigglebilly did pick it up, and now this will be the death of she's got no chance of getting out of that one. He uses his Time Walk to go in, and he's not getting out. And SNA, one more instance of poison. And he activates it. SNA will go down to Pandago.
And it looks like Ix Mike might be next on chopping block. Nope, Viper doesn't decide to chase him out. He had phase boots. He was moving much faster than Ix Mike was, and he also had the Viper Strike available, but decided not to go for it. They're just going to go ahead and push into the tower. Sneaky Nyx Assassins, I don't know. They just don't have the sustainable damage output, nor the survivability to handle these team fights right now. They need to get that Void going before they can really go for it. And it does look like it is going to be that Battle Fury. So the Claymore comes out. And presumably that means that we are going to be seeing the Battle Fury come out if the game lasts long enough. At this point in time, they're down over 10,000 gold. They're down over 5,000 experience. And they have no ability to control the throttle of this game.
No, not really. They're maybe hoping for a Blink Dagger to come up a little bit earlier on Mike. His lane went okay, but then the Centaur kicked in and just started having a presence all over the map. Pandago as well, some nice disruptions that turned some engagements around. And yeah, they're falling pretty far behind. The stat that Nahas put up earlier about Void being 6 and 91, if his gold per minute isn't 450 or greater, and we look at it now, the Void, we see it at 272. So even with this Troll Warlord, with the Chilling Touch, it doesn't seem to be quite enough to bring them back, especially now that the Necro book was rushed. Level 1 used at one point, and now he's already got the recipe for book 2.
Yeah, that Midas moves into a Necro very fast, and that's usually what we see come out of Justin. He does like that Exhort Invoker. They pick it specifically for the push, and the damage is nice as well, but getting that Necro book up is it would be very difficult for the Void to deal with if he does get that Battle Fury up, because all you got to do is have that little melee creep follow around the Void, and he will take that pure damage, guaranteedly. He'll accidentally kill it as he goes through. But in addition, it's also very nice up against the Sand King. It's very nice up against the Silencer. Just in general, you're going to have a little bit of trouble when that level 3 Necronomicon comes out, especially if you're as far behind.
Can you backtrack that?
Yeah, I think you can backtrack any instance of damage.
Yeah, because his is different. It's like HP removal, and then it immediately like refunds the health that you lost, or something like that. Or at least that's how it worked in the Warcraft 3 engine.
Yeah,
I think they were able to implement it a little more cleanly in the Source engine. Yeah,
well, the deal with it is it does not act as regular evasion, which is why it does. It doesn't, like True Strike does not help against backtrack. So because it does something where it calculates the damage and then it refunds it, but it never actually takes your damage away. And the second aspect of that is it stacks with evasion, so it doesn't actually count as evasion, which means that the pure damage coming out of the Necronomicon critter, the melee Necronomicon warrior, should be backtrackable, but the odds of it are pretty slim still. Like, you don't want to rely on that when you're accidentally knocking it down. It's only 25% chance.
Yeah, that is a good point. Probably not the best idea. So what is this? They're looking for maybe a bit of a base race here. They're losing their tier 2, and I guess at this point they're like, let's get some gold. They're going to go in for this tier 1, and there is a fortification. The battle trance was used, so the top tier 2 will fall. Yeah, it looks like they will finally get that middle tier 1. That's their second tower of the game right now. They're going to have to TP back home, and let's see, this could be pretty good defense. This is what could get them back in the game right now. They've got the ultimates and the abilities to defend their high ground. It's just a matter of if they can synergize them.
Yeah, that was a really nice call by Sneaky Nick Assassins. They know that there's nothing they're going to do. Maybe with high ground they're going to be able to defend, but short of defending on high ground, they can't really take a team fight right now. So what do you do if you're being pushed down on your last tier 2? It's probably going to be your last opportunity to go out and get anything done on the map anyway, so you might as well move in and take down that tower in the mid. Try to at least give yourself a little bit more of an opportunity to contest a Roshan. Also give yourself a little bit more of gold, because the more gold that's on the table, the less a 12,000 gold lead means. Although, at the current moment, 12,000 at 20 minutes is extraordinarily notable and very difficult to come back from.
Yeah, and some big item pickups too, just to sort of back up that gold advantage. They picked up the Ags, they picked up the Necro 3, so they're a force to reckon with right now. Ush does not get picked off. It's actually Cake's going to be giving up his own life. Everyone was there. Ush does finally die to the Shadow Poison that was stacking up from Pandago. Very, very good spell as of late. People have been utilizing the Shadow Demon quite well.
Yeah, I mean, Shadow Demon is just one of these supports that has way more damage output than people actually give him credit for. First of all, the Soul Catcher, 50% bonus damage can offset all the armor that anybody will have in the entire game, essentially. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure that bonus damage stacks after armor takes away, so it's not 100% 50% bonus damage. It actually comes out to something, depending on how much armor you have, somewhere between 35 and 45% bonus damage. But the way that ends up working with the Shadow Poison means that no hero can just stand and fight a slow push against that Shadow Demon. You have to either engage or disengage. It's just like the Bat Rider. If you hang around and do a slow engagement, you're just going to be cooked slowly over the open fire, and as soon as they decide to engage, the damage will be there to kill you. There's a smoke coming out here as Sneaky Nick's Assassins try to leave the base.
Yeah, they're looking to get aggressive, try to pick off at least one person. If they're going to find anyone, it's going to be Justin here, but he's running back north towards his base. Maybe he stops at Midas a creep here. Going to sit there, and he's going to get found out here by Mike. Everybody, the Ice Blast is going to be used. They can clean up these Necro units as well. Maybe not worth it here in 6.8, because they're still giving garbage experience, but that's changing pretty soon. But look at this, the Force Staff over here from Pandago to keep SNA there. The Double Edge will take out IX Mike. Sand King SNA going to fall here on the Troll Warlord, and well, a kill for the Centaur, a kill for the Viper. It's 16-8. It's a 1-for-2 trade. They used a smoke for that as well on the side of Sneaky Nick's Assassins, and well, game one starting to look pretty difficult. Well, maybe not starting. Yeah. It's been difficult for a while.
Yeah, that trade didn't go in their favor, but I think it actually, I mean, in terms of empirical whatever, it didn't go in their favor, but I think it went in their favor more than they really could have expected, or I mean, not more than they could have hoped, but more than you really could have expected. The Void didn't die. He got some gold. He got out of the base. He got some experience. He's really close to being able to grab his Battle Fury at this point, which at least means he should be able to throw up a Chronosphere and kill Pandago and get something with those Chronospheres, because right now he still can't do much of anything. Even if he lands a perfect Chronosphere, there's no follow-up.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him go for the Battle Fury. I mean, that's the item you want to get when you want to be able to flash farm, and I don't know, you're not going to be flash farming in your own jungle at this point. You want to get that Battle Fury like 15 minutes in or earlier, maybe a couple minutes later, so you can sit in your jungle, people forget about you maybe, and you can really farm up quickly. But the lane's pretty much going to be at their tower, and if it's not at their tower, you can't venture much further, or you're going to get picked off here. We've already seen that Cakes has been on his game, except for that very first hoof stomp.
All right. Well, but also bear in mind that Ush started that.
I know one of these trivias
per match.
If I know one of them, I guess that's cheating, and I'll keep it to myself.
Yeah, keep it to yourself for a moment, and then before the answers come up, you can go ahead and prove yourself here. But
one of them you wouldn't expect.
Oh, casters are allowed to answer. Yeah. Nas is calling you out. Yeah. So the Faceless Void started getting that Battle Fury well before they had started losing tier 2s, and I think that he expected his team was going to be able to open up the map a little bit more, because you do have the Epicenter, you do still have the Troll Warlord and the Ice Blast, which means in theory pushing into these towers should be difficult, but eHug just got off to such a stellar start. Starting around the 6-minute mark, they really have not lost control of their momentum. They have continued to accelerate into the winning side. I don't know. The Ush has he made that call based on trusting his team to keep the space open, and his team really just hasn't been able to do it.
Look at this. We got El Gato going doing that extra work there for Team eHug as he's sitting in the pit, spotting that Roshan. And it should be up in maybe a little over a minute here, but they're not worried about the ages yet. They're looking. Oh my god! They're looking. I'm gonna kill myself.
They are looking here at the mid lane, and as we do have a little bit of K9 problems here, we are going to be looking at a push here onto the tier 1. Whitebeard is trying to get some creeps, and there goes iXmike. There's going to be the silence going out in Necronomicon Warrior. And it almost kills it, but the tower ends up getting last. A very nice play by Sneaky Nick Assassin, not dealing with that pure damage. Ice Blast is going to land on Jigglebilly, and they're just going to back out. 200 gold going the way of SNA as he does get that last hit. Shout out to Team Dog with the
Team Dog indeed.
Yeah. There you go.
Maybe not my
in the top
team
lane.
of dogs.
Ush is caught out though, and he will go down.
Yeah, so, you know, eHug just being patient and calculated. They get to tier 3. They're not looking for any more than that. They know that the Roche should be up soon. They actually see the Roche because Elgato, again, scouting it out. So they can just go ahead and take that next objective and then look to break into the racks and take out the actual barracks.
That was so painful for Faceless Void. I mean, he was trying to make it in exchange. He was trying to get a tier 2 for his tier 3. Yeah, also, he was up there getting a little bit of flash farm in his opponent's jungle where it's relatively safe. That's a great call. He ended up having TP reaction onto him, and he time walked up into the tree's cover. But as it turns out, Ursa is not one that I would have grabbed. Axe Tiny, very good calls. But yeah, the way that ended up working out, Tower had 50 damage left when he got killed. And because Time Walk leaves a little trail, they knew exactly where it went, so Centaur was able to blink in on him.
Yeah, my hero wasn't there. Maybe it was 6.79, but I thought Spectre was up there pretty high at one point.
Axe makes a lot of sense. You have the dunks. Tiny makes a lot of sense because he's got that huge splash area. Ursa, that's a hero they actually have to execute to get kills with. And granted, he's a killing machine. It's basically all he's for. But that's a little surprising to me. Just a little bit. That Ursa being up on that top pinnacle of heroes who have that average.
Tiny and Ursa actually have ridiculous win rates in 6.8. There's not a ton of games that they've been in
the bottom.
But they're pretty good and pretty snowbally. Yeah, we see Mike. The Stampede even going to be used to try to clean this up. They don't want him to be able to blink away. And yeah, they get him eHug cakes with a solo kill there on a hero that they really need to pick off to make pushing into the high ground easy. And we look, is there buyback here for iXmike? There is not. So this should be a middle barracks going down.
Alright, yeah, the Ice Blast is going to go out to try and dissuade them, but there's nothing they can really do. Once again, the Silencer is trying to use that to get rid of the Necronomicon Warrior. SNA is just going to force it back and try to use that blind to keep the racks up. It's not going to be enough, though. Racks are going down for sure here. It looks like this could be a potential base race attempt, but Sneaking Assassins don't have it if they do this.
Yeah, I mean, they're not left with a whole lot of other options here. I guess maybe they can defend this bottom lane of racks with his Fortify. Mike is back up. He's level 12, so he's got rank 2 Epicenter. That can do some damage. With the Troll Warlord, maybe Ush can at least take out a tier 3 tower, but no, he's already TPing back here on the Void, looking to get that Chrono. Meanwhile, this tier 3 bottom tower will drop. Ush gets 2 of them. 3, actually, as Sheep is just going to walk straight into it, but I hear Centaur disrupting the rest of the fight. Justin should fall to the Ice Blast. It does finally land. From the opposite corner of the map, they leave the Chilling Touched Ancient Apparition pushing the base here, but it cakes and to pick up another kill. He takes out Sand King, who did not even get to use the Epicenter there. It really wasn't a big opportunity. Everyone was very, very split up.
I feel for Ush right now. He is just not able to. Of course, Helium's right. It's Helium. Come on, Nahas. What are you trying to pull here? Yeah, this is probably our GG. Yeah, GG actually already on the map, and I just wasn't paying attention. But yeah, I totally feel for Ush there. He was unable to get his hands on any last hits. He was in a very, very rough landing situation for a Faceless Void to be. And the way that the team comp was just designed, they weren't able to open up the space that they needed to. eHug really played that very well, starting from the draft and moving forward.
Yeah, well, we look at the drafts, right? They've picked a lot of questionable heroes. I mean, they're on the lower side of the winning statistics, I guess. Not that that's everything. I mean, you do have it coming down to play, but you've got 2 teams that are equally matched. It's risky, and it didn't quite work out for them. It looked good for the first, 4 minutes, and then suddenly it fell apart. It was all eHug as they look to finally be crowned on this King of the Hill $100 best of 3 winner take all. And we'll be back here for game number 2. Actually, no, we should mention the giveaway, right? So the
there
giveaway.
is a giveaway.
You can go to @DotaTrash2 on Twitter, and you just got to retweet the tweet about the SteelSeries 6G V2 keyboard. I've got one. It's awesome. I love it. It's very heavy, so if anyone attacks you while you're gaming, you can probably take them out with it. And it travels well. I've taken it on an airplane quite a few times, and it is still in pristine condition. So make sure to retweet that and follow them. And as well, you can also follow us at HeliUmbrella, at GotCowDota, and at Nahaz. Is it just Nahaz?
Yeah, he just threw it up, but I was not.
Yeah, it's there. You can find it, I'm sure. Oh, there you go. And we'll be back in just a moment's time.